All right, so we are here for round one. We got Tony. I'm going to be watching his stream. Mitch is going to be watching from Sawyer's point of view. So we saw Sawyer draft a white-black deck. Solid curve, low curve, lots of removal. Not too many bombs, but seems like these are going to be evenly matched. So they're a couple turns deep. Sawyer played some kind of creature that got exiled with a Scorch Mark, but now we see a Feather here for Tony and a Herald of the Fair 3/2 for Sawyer.
Very happy to see Ill-Gotten
Yeah.
as
So
the first
what's
spell cast.
what's he holding in his hand there?
Yeah, so he's holding a Blade Brand, which is what that attack was
Yeah.
about. It didn't look like a good attack. Lampad of Death's Vigil, which can sack creatures to
Oh,
drain,
yeah.
and a Tidebearer Giant, 1 mana away from being played.
That was a favorite of mine. Or Tide Bear Giant cost 6, right? So but he doesn't
Yeah.
have a land. Okay.
Oh, sorry, because the swamp was
Okay.
just drawn.
Yeah. So he's attacking into this Boggart Brute. So I think they're both kind of in a racing scenario here, and Lampad and Death Vigil and the Ill-Gotten Inheritance can really tip the scales in Sawyer's favor. But the thing is that Tony just has creatures that can attack for more. Yeah,
Yeah, Ill-Gotten's
here comes an Iroas's Blessing, and he can follow that up with a Mothrider Patrol that he can cast from exile. So he's going to get to kill this Lampad here. The Lampad could sack itself, but
does a drain. The
yeah,
cool thing is this is
it,
this is it's not going to make the spell fizzle because it's an aura.
yeah. The aura's already attached when the trigger goes on the stack, so he gets the 7 damage in. He's going to play a Mothrider Patrol, which can tap down a blocker. And this Rapid Flames paired with this tapping of the Mothrider, it looks like he's going to be able to probably wrap this game up in the next couple turns here. And Sawyer's sort of sort of seeing that here. Ill-Gotten Inheritance can get you so far, but when you're really this far behind on board, the Ill-Gotten Inheritance is more of a road bump for the opponent than a path to victory.
Not a great draw in Fall of Lord Conda. There's no targets that are 4 or more CMC.
Yeah. Now, so here's a
So gonna
Tithe
look for
Bearer.
something aside, brother.
This okay. So he's going to attack. All
Tap
right.
ability costs 4.
Yeah.
Might be what he
So
goes for.
yeah, Tony does have to respect the Ill-Gotten Inheritance, being able to deal 4. So he can't just like tap this Tithe Bearer. He has to
Yeah.
respect the Tithe Bearer plus the Ill-Gotten Inheritance, or even
Yeah.
even the Herald of the Fair plus the Ill-Gotten is lethal. So both are actually lethal. He's going to shock this right now, and he's going to leave up the 4 mana presumably to tap this Tithe Bearer.
Yeah. Using the 4 mana to tap looks like a plan to me, but yeah, not aggressively because that would leave him dead
Yeah,
on
so
this
these guys are
pass.
playing quick. They're playing aggressive. They are full on racing. But now now they're going to have to no more just attack all every turn. You're going to have to interact here. But Sawyer does have this life bump here that Tony does not. But Tony obviously has the board presence. So what's Sawyer holding now?
It is an Eddie Trail Hawk, Vampire Opportunist, and that Fall of Lord Conda, which is not doing much.
Okay,
This is
so
the Ill-Gotten's Gambit here, because
yeah,
if you swing for lethal, you can crack it with your 6 mana and not get lethal, and then
yeah. So
uh,
the hawk and the vampire opportunist represent sort of damage, but like it takes a while. He's just gonna stay alive here with the ill-gotten. So not the plan he wanted to do, but when you are cracking your ill-gotten to not die to combat damage, you're not insanely happy. But getting Tony to 3 is not nothing, but doesn't appear that he has anything in hand to
from
come
his
back, I
point of view,
guess.
he's a
Yeah, because Tony has the Rapid Flame, so no matter what Sawyer does this
Mhm.
turn, no matter how many creatures he deploys, um, yeah, Tony's going to be able to attack in. And just seeing the Feather, he has no response to that, so he's not going to show him any more cards. So we're going to go straight into sideboarding.
Oh,
So
there was
looking,
the hawk, but he didn't want to show it.
yeah, he had the 2/1 as well, Vampire Opportunist. So okay, so it wasn't a Johnny's Pride Mate that was exiled with the Scorch Mark. So just to let you know, because we did
Oh, I
come
see.
in on turn 3. Sawyer had played an early creature that got Scorch Mark. We didn't know what it was because it was in exile. Um, so Tony built his deck more or less how we suspected. Aggressive, playing pretty much all of his 2 drops. that
That
have two
makes sense.
power or more.
Sawyer's got also as we expected, just Orzhov, lots of little life gain ways to gain life.
Yeah, he is playing some of those. Like he's playing the maximized velocity, the Regent's Authority. So some of these the battlefield promotion. So these cards that pair well with his feather and just allow him to get damage in. He's thinking about bringing in a Fragmentize. Interestingly, Luminous Bonds appeared to have not made the cut.
I
Neither
see.
did Chandra's Revolution. So I guess he just wanted his curve as low as possible. He's playing 23 lands, which is on the very low end. Yeah, so
Just trying to get
he's
creatures on board.
yeah, so he's yeah, so he's not playing too many things that cost more than three. He's got a few 4 drops, a couple 5 drops, but really he's looking to be more low to the ground.
Sawyer's not making too many changes. Not that we know what his deck was completely made of beforehand, but
Yeah, I mean, by
like I
looking at the
said,
pools,
lots of ways
we
to
get a
gain
good
life.
idea. We get a good idea. He was playing a white black deck, good amount of removal, some life gain synergies. Not like an amazing roster of creatures, but reasonable. Like we did see, some of his creatures there were just like Vampire Opportunist, Herald of the Fair. Like these are just usually filler creatures. I mean, they attack, they block, they have small impacts on the game, but
I gotta say, I like Sawyer's chances with all this life gain against the aggro plan. He didn't take game one. We're going into game two here.
yep. So let's see what happens here. All right, so Tony's gonna have to send back a one lander here.
Only one color of mana with 3 planes, but a Daxos in Sawyer's hand is castable. Besides from
Okay,
that, it's Grasping Thrall, Lazotep Reaper, and Curve Topper Baker Giant.
Grasping Thrall. That's a 3 out of 5 on the old Cloud Blazer index over there. I like it. Yeah, so here's Daxos. Pairs well with his Johnny's Pride mates if he finds them, but it gives you a life anytime none of your
Legendary.
other creatures enter or die. So it gives you both. It's coming in and coming out. Though this Daxos can get killed by a bounty agent. Uh, dis-
Fantastic. Top deck
Despite being a
is
demigod,
Swamp.
he can be hunted for a bounty.
That's what I said. Look at this already gaining 2 life from the
Yeah,
ETBs here with the
so he's
Lazotep
gonna
Reaper.
offer the trade here, but Tony said I can trade on my own terms. I can trade anytime I want. All right, so here comes Joe Master getting in for four damage here. Lazotep Reaver just kind of like a stop sign for a deck like Tony's. Um, when you're playing like a big green deck, the green deck just plays a 3/3 for 3 and sort of laughs at the Lazotep Reaper. But a deck that's playing small creatures, 2/1s, just the Lazotep Reaver is such an annoying roadblock. It's 2 bodies that get in the way here.
Yeah, if a Swamp wasn't drawn that turn, would have been a for
So
Sawyer, but
what's Sawyer holding up here?
is a 5 and a 6 drop with 2 lands, so it's gonna go Grasping Thrall into Tidebearer Giant almost certainly in the next 2 turns.
Okay, yeah. So I was
And
gonna
many of
say
the
this
makers hold
Daybreak
off.
Chimera is gonna be able to get in for some damage, but it is not. So Tony in his hand, he has a Smelt Ward Ignis, which is a little 2 mana 2/1. You could sack it to gain control of a small creature for the turn. He has a fifth land and he has Cleansing Nova, which
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like for an aggressive deck. It's it still it still has a good impact. Like if you get behind, but it's a card you probably if you are executing your game plan, you probably don't want this card in a lot of in a lot of
He
games.
he
Board
might
states.
he might be needing it here as a 6 drop
Yeah.
Tidebearer Giant comes in.
So yeah, so he did not play his 2 drop, Tony, which indicates he is intending on using the Cleansing Nova. Hoping Sawyer puts 1 or 2 more creatures into play this turn, and with that knowledge, he is going to block here. Yeah,
We'll see
so
what the
he's setting up almost assuredly for a Cleansing Nova here.
only other spell in hand before this card draw is Mentor of the Meek, which can get
Oh, Mentor
cards
of the
back in
Meek,
the
yeah,
hand.
that's a card that can really get an advantage. Yeah, it looks like Tony's left with not too much choice. Okay, he's just gonna hold off. He's gonna hope for more to get deployed here because right now he's only taking 4 from the tithe for the Tithe Bear. That's kind of like the only attack available. You could take 4 here.
I'm interested to see if Sawyer will play out his Mentor of the Meek playing around any sweeper, which
All right.
we know is coming.
So
So
he's
it's
just gonna
quite important here.
yeah. So he's just gonna sacrifice the bounty agent, chump block, and kill the Daxos. So just keeping his life total high. Hoping Sawyer deploys some more creatures into play. And
He's going for it. It's on the stack, so that's his card draw
yeah,
opportunity.
I
I think he
mean,
gets sweep with it.
Sawyer doesn't know about this board wipe. If there is a game 3, I think he'll notice that if he sees Tony doing strange things like chump blocking and sacking to kill a Taxos, and not playing any creatures for 2 or 3 turns, that could indicate the cleansing nova on its way. But I mean, with no way to play around it, he can't be blamed for putting
Uh,
a creature play. Absolutely not.
fantastic, fantastic top deck here. He had only a
Okay.
Thopter Rest in hand. It's Ugin's Conjurance, so it's an X spell.
Okay,
Just what
so
he
this
needed.
is this is going to require specifically just like one of those like the Thopter arrest type effects, because
Oh,
this is just gonna eat into Tony's life total. He can chump block to take off
it gets
counters to whittle it down, but
it. Well, it gets better here
oh,
as you
okay,
deck.
this is gonna be quite bad for Tony. He's actually gonna be dead in a couple turns here because he's just drawing lands.
Yeah, two
So
amazing top decks
So
there
the
for
holding
Sawyer.
of the board wipe didn't actually punish him. It's just they not drawing anything, and Sawyer drawing good spells. Okay, here's a Blade Brand just to cycle. Yeah, so he's actually dead. He's going to take 6, and he's going to take another 5 from the Ill-Gotten, and that's more than 9. So we see
Ugin's Conjuring a hero
Sawyer
right there.
catch up here. Yeah, well, I mean, the top of the deck was really the hero because it was anybody's game after the board wipe. I think nobody had a significant
Yep,
like advantage.
yep.
But yeah,
And
this is
ill-gotten.
exactly where you don't want to be with your Boros deck, right? You're top decking, your opponent's at 23, and you have just lands in hand.
Good news
Like,
for Tony though. He's on the play now.
yeah, so like the average deck in that spot is going to have a better top deck than a red-white aggressive deck when it comes down to that point in the game, right? Like he could still win, he could still find what he needs to win, but his average top deck is going to be a lot less impactful than the average deck
Yep,
at
true.
that point in the game.
Importantly, he knows there's a Nova now.
Yeah, so Sawyer can notice if Tony is not playing things, or that was a very specific thing he did, like chump block and sack to kill the Daxos, like when he's at 16. Like that should set off at least a radar now that okay, that's not a normal play that you would make most of the time. There's something else going on. And I think he probably clocked that, but just couldn't really afford to play around a board wipe. Like didn't know what to play around, but now that he does, he'll adjust accordingly.
Looks like Sawyer's is putting in Dowser of Lights and Strangling Spores, just something to gum up the ground, and a removal card that's not
Well,
efficient, but
a 4/5 is
removes
good.
creatures.
Dowser of Lights was very good in its format for a vanilla creature, just because of the Boros decks running around. Yeah,
Da Yang also coming in. Just a cheap removal spell.
yeah, cheap removal. Yeah, that's what you need against these decks. Cheap removal, some life gain. The Eugene's Conjurant, just you know, it's good at most points in the game, but it's especially good in that point because it kills really, really fast.
Looks like he's starting out the Blade Brand and the Opportunist, which is a late game drainer.
Yeah, but I think you just want something better than a 2/1 here that's going to trade most of the time. You want maybe some better board presence. I don't think he's planning to get to the phase in the game where the Vampire Opportunist ability starts coming in.
Nope.
So Tony has a 2-drop, a 4-drop, a shock, and 4 lands. So he's hoping not to draw too many more lands. He's hoping to find spells here, but he's got at least something to do here with a Ignis and then a Goblin Assault Team on turn 4. What's Sawyer's hand looking like?
Well, shock target coming out here.
Oh yeah,
Johnny's Pridemate. We got Befriending the Moths, Inspired Charge, which is a board pump, Twisting Embrace, and Aura Removal, and Shield Mare, which gains life when it
okay.
ETBs.
Yeah, so this that shock could not be cast fast enough. Yeah, so here's another annoying card. It gains 3 life, and then I think when it becomes a target of a spell an opponent controls, it's another 3 life. But Tony is just flooding out
A lot of
here.
life.
He's got and I said we saw he's running 23 lands, which is on the low end for 60 cards. Usually you're at 25, and 24 is like low, considered low. 23 much lower, but he's got only lands in hand here, so he's gonna need a really strong combination of cards to be drawn in the coming turns here, and he's gonna need Sawyer to stumble in some manner.
Big consideration here is with the second swamp, Twisted Embrace is castable, and without a creature, it's not castable. So he goes with the plan of casting Twisting Embrace. It looks like
Yeah, he doesn't need to trade here. No need for that. Yeah, so here comes the
open
Twisted
mana. You're
Embrace.
just fine. No
Yeah.
open mana, I should say.
So this puts a counter on something when it dies, but the Shield Mirror is still more powerful. So he's gonna attack in. Yeah. And here's another land for Tony, so he must be beside himself here. This is,
Yeah, that is
yeah.
unlucky.
You never want to flood like this, but top 8 Mega Draft is definitely, you know, one of the worst times to have this happen. You just feel helpless, like your deck's just not cooperating. You can bounce the Twisted Embrace here. This is
Out of set synergy right
yeah.
there.
Aviary Mechanic is a fun little card. Lots of cool things it can do. It could even like give you extra mana if you don't have like a land drop. It's card does a lot, and in this case, it's it's gonna kill something.
Yeah, it's just a couple removal spells, Inspired Charge, and Befriending the Moths here in hand.
Yeah, so befriending the moss is gonna be able to deal some damage here. Inspiring charge. I mean, maybe it'll come out for the victory at some point, but looks like he just needs to keep the board under control, keep his life total reasonably high, and he has what he needs, it looks like, to win. Yeah, so here comes the Twisted Embrace.
Deciding which creature is more of a threat here.
Yeah, well, I think the Ignis has potential, right? Because, paired with some other cards in his hand, steal a creature, and it steals a creature, it could be some surprise damage out of nowhere. He's just going to go for the bigger power here, the 4-1 that can actually trade with the 3-4. He's going to take that off the board. Here comes the Daybreak Chimera. Sounds like it's going to... Is there another removal here for it?
There is its Final Death, which exiles any creature.
Yeah, 3/3 flying is probably meets the threshold of what he feels comfortable casting a 5-mana removal spell on here.
Deciding to go with Befriending the Moths first, though.
Okay, well, he figures his clock is faster this way.
Yep. It's the right play, I would say.
And so here's an Eidolon of Obstruction. So Planeswalkers beware, but otherwise it's just a 2-1.
Sawyer's getting quite flooded now, but still
Yeah,
Inspired Charge and Final Death.
yeah. So he's actually... So he doesn't have the guaranteed win next turn, but he will. He will with the 2/4 flying in 2 turns. He'll have the win.
So looks like Tony's gonna need to top deck something here.
Yeah, so he does have things that could give him the win here, but with the removal spell in Sawyer's hand, it's going to be less likely. So here's a Lightning Mare. Of all the things it does, I don't believe it has haste. That's the red for a 3-1, sort of the compatriot of the Shield Mare.
What is the ability on that one?
Can't be blocked by blue creatures, and it has fire breathing for 2 mana, I believe.
I see.
Yeah, that is exactly what it does.
Two
So it's
mares.
coming down here, but
Two
Sawyer's...
mares against each other.
Yeah, Sawyer's... He's kind of got the win here in 2 turns for sure. But let's see. Okay, so Tony's gone for the absolutely no attacks at all because the Shield Mare is lethal, so he wants all of his creatures available, which makes sense.
Sawyer's gonna get a 2/4 flyer on the battlefield with Summoning Sickness
Yeah, and then
after the
next
draw
turn
step.
with the Inspired Charge, that 2/4 can be lethal, right?
Yeah.
Or he can just attack twice with it, but he might want to end the game.
So the game one, this first match is going to Sawyer unless the top deck comes off the top for Tony.
Yeah, Sawyer has the win sewn up here in 2 turns, pretty much, barring anything coming from Tony's side. Like, Tony does have 3 creatures in play. I mean, one of them is probably going to get exiled here. I think Sawyer's just deciding which one. Okay, no, he's just going to hold it. Because he's not casting the Inspired Charge this turn, so he says, I can just cast my Final Death this turn. maybe get a 2-for-1 if Tony draws some sort of pump spell interaction. All right, so he has to block here, and the Inspired Charge gives +2/+1, right?
It gives +2/+1, yeah.
Okay, so Tony's not going to walk into getting blown out by a combat trick. He's just going to chump block here. He's going to keep as much power in play as possible. Though, his and another land, so just really unfortunate here.
Oh no.
Drew them here when he badly needed spells.
It's gonna be the match. 9 mana worth of instant in hand on only 8 mana. Sorry, 9 mana to use.
Yeah, well, I imagine Sawyer is going to end of turn exile, but he does respect the open mana. Tony will retain priority because he has the Lightning Mare, which has an activated ability that he can activate. He is going to attack with it here.
He has a choice to make, I suppose. He doesn't know it is lethal if he uses it on the flyer, because it's only two lands in hand for
Yeah, the Lightning Mare, I
Tony,
believe,
right?
only gets +1/+0, so he can only pump it up to 6 with. He didn't even play his other mountain that he drew. He just wants to get this Moth off the board because that represents potential lethal.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider. It is fairly high stakes in the mega draft here, but yeah, Lightning Mirror only
Yeah,
potentially can get before attack, but
so
he doesn't know
obviously,
that.
yeah. So if Sawyer knew Tony had 2 lands in hand, he would be making his actions a lot more quicker and decisively. But as he has to respect instants and all the possible sets that we played that we saw in the draft, it could be just about any instant with any number of different effects. He's going to block here. He's just going to play it safe.
Yeah, you know what? Letting that through and just taking 3 means you're dead to Lava Axe, which was opened by, I think, even is in Tony's pool.
Yeah, he didn't end up putting it in his deck, but yeah, so he's just gonna final death here after Tony uses some mana here. So he's just gonna make Tony use the mana, final death, and that's gonna leave Inspired Charge open here. And if Sawyer clocks that Tony does not have priority, he'll feel a lot more safer firing off the Inspired Charge here. Let's see, Tony is not going into full control mode, so Sawyer's probably realized that this is his opportunity to take the win here, and Inspired Charge comes through at the end here. A few too many lands, and we see Sawyer on his way to round 2. So congratulations to him, and we'll be back for the second round in a little bit.